Well, after the whole chat GPT thing, wish I was doing my speech tomorrow. And I could have rewritten it on chat GPT tonight. So anyway, my name is Janelle. I'm an Emerald, and most of you know a lot of my story at the rep convention last year. And so I'm going to be speaking today on working through the hard stuff. And some of the bigger details and tragedies of my story since starting these products in 2016 include quite a bit of much tragedy and some big sudden losses. A car accident in which it's a literal miracle that my son is alive, and he almost died due to a septic infection in his legs. And since then, some actually pretty major and mostly private issues with my 3 kiddos in their 20s. So I have a feeling that's probably why I was asked to speak. We're going to talk about how to show up and continue to work through the difficult messes of life. I didn't always do it well, but I've learned a lot. And so I'm going to share with you a few lessons and tools that I learned and had to apply on. First of all, I want you to know that just because I had a lot of hard in a little bit of time does not mean that each and every person sitting here does not have hard. Every single one of you has hard. Sometimes it's little hard and sometimes it's really, really, really big hard. Sometimes it's private and sometimes it's public. So have compassion for other people's heart. Okay, and I know that we're all beautiful souls here and that's not an issue, but sometimes I think it's easy for us to discount other people's heart, and I don't want that to happen. So some hard things can be chronic illnesses. I know, and that's kind of a hard thing. And we're in Plexus, we're promoting health, and we are in a really, really bad place. That's a challenge to know how to post and what to share and things like that. I know some very personal close friends that have family issues with addictions, abuse issues, loss of any kind, job, financial security, health, divorce. Those are hard things and they're hard to talk about. I know of 2 people personally in this room who have been falsely turned into CPS by false hard accusations. Permanent rejection by a spouse or a loved one, rebellious, wayward, uncontrollable children, foster care situations, and especially the death of loved ones that we really, really are close to. So the reality is, though, you guys, life happens. And it will continue to happen as long as we're here on this earth. So, Greek philosopher Heraclitus said the only constant in life is change. And that's hard for me because I don't like change. So to have to learn and adapt to big changes and little changes has been very humbling. And so how do we deal with hard things, constant change, and still grow successful businesses? Before we get into that, we're going to back up just a little bit and start with what we can actually do before chaos happens. What does that look like on a day-to-day basis when you're not in chaos? So, like anything in life, it helps to have a plan. And as much as possible, we need to actually be intentional to make a conscious decision ahead of time how we are going to respond to challenges. So I realize that when those challenges actually do happen, there's a lot of variables and that might look different in your mind than what you had planned. But you will actually feel much more prepared and not as overwhelmed if you've at least thought about this ahead of time. Side note, this isn't in my notes, but we had a scare last week. We had a phone call and my daughter called in hysterics. And my body went right back to trauma mode. All the traumas that I mentioned happened, I learned about through a phone call. So I have issues with like turning volume off and things like that. But anyway, In that moment when she called and it was a false alarm, my body knew what to do. And every trauma I've been through since the first one, I've reacted better because I've thought about how I should have and how I can respond better. So when that phone call happened last week, even though it was a false alarm, I actually felt really calm and at peace. So just know that if you prepare ahead of time, you don't want to be doing going and focus on that, but you will actually respond better if you are prepared. Okay, so what does that look like, being prepared for chaos? So number one, I'm gonna give you 3 things: having the skills to embrace and overcome daily challenges and obstacles. That's gonna help you prepare for times of chaos. So be willing to embrace and overcome challenges. Number 2, already having a growth mindset. Number 3, knowing how to facilitate short and long-term goal setting. We're really good at that, and that's good. So there's a few definitions I actually want to share. The first is grit. We know what grit is: the ability to push ourselves over, through, and around obstacles. Number 2 is determination. Determination, the firmness of purpose, resoluteness, deciding definitely, staying positive in the face of challenges. And then resilience, that's the one I'm actually going to focus on today. Resilience is our ability to bounce back after we have struggled, faltered, or failed. Being able to pick ourselves back up, dust ourselves off, take a hot minute to collect ourselves, and then get back to business. It involves optimism. Are you a positive person? This resilience is a characteristic we can actually develop. So we can all think of famous examples of grit, determination, and resilience, but we actually must learn how to apply those to our lives and businesses if we want to be successful here. One quote I came across that I absolutely love said, "Grit is the engine that moves us toward our goal, but resilience is the oil that the engine needs to keep moving forward." If you do not have resilience, you will run out of grit. Okay? So that's what we're going to dive into for a minute. Resilience is the process of not only adapting well in the face of adversity, but it also means bouncing back. Like I said, it involves your behaviors, your thoughts, and actions that can be learned and developed. People are generally more resilient if they view change as offering opportunity for growth than loss or trauma. So what are key factors in resilience? A combination of factors. Actually, many studies have shown that the primary factor that's going to make you the most resilient is actually having a caring and supportive relationship within and outside of your family. That's the number 1 factor. The other additional factors are the capacity to make realistic plans and take steps to carry them out. So make a goal, action. A positive view of yourself and confidence in your strengths. Skills in communication and problem solving. The capacity to manage strong feelings and impulses. Emotional maturity. And a couple points I'm going to talk about now are what we can do during the time of chaos. During the divorce, during the illness or hospital stay, during the court hearings. You get the idea. So first of all, here's actually what not to do. Do not dwell on the past and live with regret. Don't refuse to make the necessary changes to move forward, aka staying stuck. Don't think on the situation constantly where it consumes you. Do not wallow in self-pity or lose respect for yourself. Do not withdraw. This was a big temptation for me. Do not withdraw or run away from your feelings or those trying to help. Do not resent others who are going through normal lives. Don't be hard on yourself and expect to be able to just get over it. Do not have guilt over having either a good day or a bad day. Don't condemn your reactions or responses to the situation. Spent a year in therapy over that one. Don't allow yourself to stay in the hard long after the situation is bad. And don't obviously rely on alcohol or other substances to escape. So those are the don'ts. Now, what do we do? Remember that I mentioned that most studies show that the primary factor in resilience is having caring and supportive relationships with the family and without. That actually means accepting help and asking for support from those you know who care about you. Other additional factors are going to be continue to move towards your goals. Develop some realistic goals and do something for your business regularly, even when you don't feel like it. Even if it seems very small. Examples, obviously posting, checking in with a customer just to make sure you're still supporting your people, and do just a few reach outs every day, if that's all you can do. And instead of focusing on tasks that seem unachievable, ask yourself, what is one thing I know I can accomplish today that helps me keep moving in the direction I know I want to go? Another thing, give yourself grace. That means being accepting and understanding of your difficult thoughts and feelings, but not too much grace. This is something that will be different for each person, so you're going to need to be honest with yourself about what you can and cannot do. Do embrace the changes. Don't fight them. Some of these changes are going to be life-altering changes in your life and your family. You have to accept them and view them as an opportunity to grow and learn. And accept that change is a part of living, and you can alter. Do build deep connections, having wise discretion in whom you trust. Whoever you trust must be positive and supportive and not energy suckers. There's no time for energy suckers. Practice mindfulness. Close your eyes and focus on the present moment and just observe your current emotions with no judgment. Stay hopeful and positive. Stay in a growth mindset. Actually, growth mindset builds grit and resilience. So being emotionally mature is vital to having control over how we respond to the messy events we experience, and not letting our feelings make our decisions. Obviously, taking care of yourself by maintaining healthy behaviors, exercise, healthy food choices, adequate amounts of sleep. I will tell you, when my son was in the hospital, off and on, I literally took a bed sheet out of the closet in the hospital room, and I laid it on the floor, and I just did stretches and yoga. That's what I could do. I had to move my body. There was nowhere to move. And I felt really, really good when I did it. So sometimes you just have to figure it out. Talk to a trusted counselor, friend, or pastor. Obviously, try not to make any other major life choices during that time. That is not a time to maybe quit your job or move across the country. And the other thing that helped me was having a schedule as much as possible in between doctors and therapists and everybody coming in and out of the room all day long, all night long. Just having a list and being able to check things off was much more feasible than having a schedule. It helps keep your brain focused, and you actually feel really accomplished when you can check something off that list. Keep things in perspective. Even when you're facing really big things, what helped me was looking at my whole life. Like, this was just going to be a moment in time. We were going to have to figure it out and make it through. Like I said earlier, just don't dwell on it. Acknowledge the situation. Don't live in denial. And realize that certain goals may not be immediately attainable, and that's okay. Obviously, reframing negative thoughts, part of personal growth. Engage in meaningful and spiritual activities, worship, prayer, most important, and journal. And know that there's hope. All of these are factors and actions that anybody can develop and practice and get good at. So I want to do one little practice. I'd like you to close your eyes for just a minute and visualize this with me. I want you to picture yourself on a river. Your family is waiting for you at a pre-planned meeting location down the river a ways. On your journey to them, You are experiencing rapids, sharp turns, slow water, dangerous rocks and trees hiding just under the water's surface, and areas so shallow that you need to get out and walk or you'd be stuck. You remember what you learned from previous areas earlier on that same river, and your knowledge and past experiences are helpful to you. You are well prepared and you have a plan. You press on and trust in your ability to work your way around the boulders and other obstacles. Your trusted companions who accompany you on the journey can be especially helpful for dealing with the rapids, upstream currents, and treacherous stretches of the river. You go through periods of exhaustion, so you climb up on the bank and rest for a moment. But to get to the end of your journey, now you must get back in the raft and continue on. You may open your eyes. This is us and our businesses. It's a journey we are taking to reach our goals. Some of us are going to have raging, crazy, out of control rivers. Some of us aren't. But it's a journey we need to take, and sometimes we may need to rest for just a minute, but most of the times we need to keep learning and navigating and knowing how to push through the hard. So now you can look at that paper that came around, and on the side that has a little bit of a blank section on the bottom, I want you to write these questions down, and we're not going to answer them right now, but I would love for you to take the time to reflect on these, maybe tonight, while this is still fresh in your mind. But I would like you to write down number 1, what kind of events have been the most stressful for me in my life? Number 2, how have these events typically affected me? And then behind that, you can write my business with a question mark. So how have they affected you and your business? Number 3, what have I learned about myself and my interactions with others during difficult times? What have I learned about myself and my interactions with others during difficult times? Number 4, have I been able to overcome obstacles? And if so, how? Number 4, have I been able to overcome obstacles? And if so, how? Number 4 again? 3. What have I learned about myself and my interactions with others during difficult times? You're welcome. Number 5, last one. What has helped me, or what has helped make me feel more hopeful about the future? What has helped make me feel more hopeful about the future? And I'm going to close with, we know that our only true strength and resilience comes from the Lord above. And so I would like to share a few passages from his word that speak directly about this. Galatians 6:9. And let us not grow weary of doing good, for in due season we will reap if we do not give up. Romans 5, verse 3. We rejoice in our sufferings, knowing that suffering produces endurance, and endurance produces character, and character produces hope. James 1:2-4. Count it all joy, my brothers, when you meet trials of various kinds, for you know that the testing of your faith produces steadfastness, and let steadfastness have its full effect, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking in nothing. Hebrews 10, verse 36, for when you have need of endurance, so that when you have done the will of God, you may receive what is promised. And the last one, James 1, verse 12. Blessed is the man who remains steadfast under trial, for when he has stood the test, he will receive the crown of life, which God has promised to those who love him. Thank you.